For 50 years, one name defined aviation: Boeing. It wasn't just a company, it was a symbol of American excellence. Pilots had a saying: if it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. They built the plane that shrunk the world, the 707. They built the queen of the skies, the 747. They built the rocket that went to the moon. Safety wasn't just a priority, it was their religion. But in 2018, that legacy shattered. In the span of 5 months, 2 brand new jets fell out of the sky, killing 346 people. The world thought it was a software glitch. But as investigators peeled back the layers, they found something much darker. They found a culture that had replaced engineers with accountants. From the secret software known as MCAS to the factory floor where workers simply forgot to bolt the doors shut. This is the complete 10-year timeline of 737 MAX and how the world's greatest airplane company destroyed its own reputation. The disaster didn't start in the air. It started in a boardroom in 2011. Boeing big rival Airbus had just launched a new plane, the A320neo. It was fuel efficient, it was quiet, and airplanes were buying it in record numbers. Boeing panicked. They needed to complete, but designing a clean sheet airplane takes 10 years. They didn't have 10 years, so they decided to update their old workhorse, the 737. But there was a physics problem. To save fuel, they need massive new engines. But the 737 sits extremely low to the ground. It was designed in the 1960s to let people walk upstairs without a jet bridge. The new engines physically didn't fit. They would scrape the runway. The engineers found a solution. They moved the engines forward and up. It looked ugly, but it fit. However, this created a deadly side effect. When the plane flew at a high angle of attack, the massive engine nacelles generated lift. They pushed the nose up. If the nose went too high, the plane would stall and fall out of the sky. Instead of redesigning the plane, Boeing decided to fix it with software. They installed a secret system called MCAS. MCAS was designed to be a ghost in the machine. If a sensor detected the nose was too high, MCAS would automatically force the nose down. And here is the critical part. Boeing decided not to tell the pilots it existed. October 29, 2018, Lion Air Flight 610 takes off from Jakarta. Minutes into the flight, a single sensor on the outside of the plane fails. It sends bad data to the computer, telling it the plane is climbing too steeply. It wasn't climbing, it was flying normally. But MCAS believed the sensor. It kicked in and slammed the nose down. The pilots fought back. They pulled the stick up. 5 seconds later, MCAS slammed it down again. For 11 minutes, a tug-of-war raged between the pilots and the computer. The pilots checked their manuals, but the manual didn't mention MCAS. They were fighting a ghost. Eventually, the machine won. The plane dove into the Java Sea at 4,000 miles per hour. Boeing blamed the pilots. They said it was a training issue. 5 months later, it happened again. Ethiopian Airlines, Flight 302, same plane, same software, same result. This time, the world didn't believe Boeing. Days after the second crash, the entire global fleet was grounded. Boeing's stock tanked, but the investigation revealed something worse than bad code. It revealed bad ethics. Internal emails from Boeing employees were leaked to the public. The messages were shocking. One employee wrote, "This airplane is designed by clowns, who are in turn supervised by monkeys." Analysts tracked the rot back to 1997, when Boeing merged with McDonnell Douglas. The culture shifted. The engineers who ran the company were replaced by Wall Street executives. Cutting costs became more important than building great airplanes. They had tried to save money by not training pilots in simulators. And that greed cost 346 lives. After 20 months on the ground, Boeing fixed the software. The MAX returned to the skies. Boeing promised they had changed. They said it was the most scrutinized plane in history. But on January 5th, 2024, the nightmare returned. This time, it wasn't software. It was pure laziness. At 16,000 feet, a wall panel on a brand new Alaska Airlines jet blew out. The investigation revealed that at the factory, mechanics had opened the door to fix the rivet and simply forgot to put the 4 locking bolts back in. Whistleblowers from the factory described a chaotic environment. Parts arriving broken, managers screaming for speed, quality inspector being ignored. The door plug incident proved that the culture of cutting corners was still alive and well. Today, the 737 MAX is flying again. Statistically, it is safe, but the damage to the brand is permanent. Boeing is currently facing criminal investigations, federal cap on production. They are too big to fail, but they are no longer the old standard. The story of 737 MAX is a warning. When you prioritize stock prices over safety, gravity eventually takes over. We have seen what happens when a manufacturer fails its pilots, but what happens when a flight crew is forced to fight a battle they were never trained for. In our latest animated documentary, we visualize the story of the war zone miracle. A civilian DHL cargo crew taken off from Baghdad who found themselves the target of a terrorist missile. They lost all hydraulics, they lost all steering. Physics said they should have crashed, but they did the impossible. Click here to see the animation of how they landed a burning plane without a steering wheel. I'll see you there.